The Pinball Network is online. Launching.
Triple Drain Pinball Podcast.
We are back. We're back. Perfect. This is our episode that we're releasing before Christmas, right? That was the goal to get
That's your guys' fault, not mine.
to knock
Before
one out.
Christmas of 2025.
Yeah, wasn't that it was like, hey, we'll definitely get one in for the holidays, and we didn't. We didn't
Don't
do
make
that.
promises your ass can't cash, Joel.
which I'm pretty sure we made a promise before Thanksgiving too, and we didn't keep that one either. So, to anybody that clicked on this, thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for the Patreon supporters that are supporting us through months that we don't record. So, really, thank you for that.
Supporting Joel.
But that's not Tom. Okay, so
That is true. Joel spends all the money, not us.
I haven't spent
All Joel.
like any of the money, anyways. So it's
Did you
yes.
invest it?
No, it's just sitting there. It's sitting there, and we had this conversation all the time. What should we do, guys? Should we do this? Should we do it? Last time we pulled out money for Expo. We are like, let's put this towards Expo travel. That was the thought. But anyways, enough about that. We have a guest today.
Did you see any money, Travis?
Did you?
My work
Okay.
paid for it. I don't know where Joel puts all this at.
just
He's probably
sitting there, guys.
investing in LEs to flip them. I bet
just
that's what he
sitting there.
does.
It's just, anyways. Well, thank you for the people that support us. And I don't.
Hi, Ralph.
I don't
Welcome
know
to
what-
this
We have a
this
guest.
mini shit
We have
show
a guest.
we have going here.
Yeah,
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
I'm
I just
starting
love
my
that
own
behind the scenes
Patreon
you
while
guys
I'm on
bust
this
on
call.
Joel just as much as on the show. So it's like,
Yeah. The jokes write themselves, Ralph. The jokes write themselves. We have Retro Ralph here. So I'm assuming it's Retro Ralph on all the socials. Is that right?
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. So feel free to check out his YouTube. But the reason we invited Ralph on here is because he was also at the Dungeons and Dragons Media Day. So the goal for this episode is we want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. But before we dive into that, we have to hit the button. We have to play the song so Tom can do his dance. Everybody good? Travis, you good?
Let's roll.
Tom, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Here we go.
We're three guys who like to talk pinball, so we came up with a clever name. We're Joel and Travis Tom who talk pinball, and we call ourselves Triple Drain, Triple Drain, Triple Drain. We're Triple Drain.
We did it. Okay, we've done it. Real quick, it's snowing outside right now. Travis, is it snowing in St. Louis?
Yes, I'm officially calling this the first holiday episode of 2025 for Christmas.
Wow. Okay.
pretty fair.
And just to be
We're
clear,
first to market. That's how we roll.
It snowed a lot of inches Sunday night. Do you own a snow shovel yet?
No.
No. Okay. So
Ralph, you live out in Arizona, right?
Yeah. It's actually seasonably a bit cold here right now. It's 57 degrees, but it's 57
Winter
and sunny.
is
So
coming.
I'm feeling pretty good right now.
So you don't need a snow shovel where you're
There
at?
is no snow shovel required, although you go an hour and a half and you can have plenty of snow in like Flagstaff or Sedona if you want to do that. So you have that
Okay.
option.
So
Yeah.
see, I'm just using Ralph strats, Joel. That's it.
not, how's it working
Yeah.
for you? Because you almost didn't come to the media day because you're like, I'm snowed in. We're like,
Oh my God, you would have thought it was an apocalypse outside.
I know. Yeah.
I got there, didn't I? I
And
was there.
so just to
Wait,
clarify,
Travis,
we call
did
this
you just
Monday
move to
in
a snowy
Wisconsin,
place or
Travis.
something? Or like, why did you
2
not
years
have one?
ago,
No, I've lived here for about 3 years now.
3 years ago.
And you don't have a shovel?
No.
No, come on. You have one. This is
No.
just a bit, right?
No, there is no bits. Ralph.
So what do you do?
There are
Just
no
throw it
bits.
into reverse and just pile it, just ride
Oh no,
over
no,
it?
no,
or-
no! His driveway got shoveled. His driveway got shoveled. Who shoveled your driveway, Travis?
Monica did. of
Monica
course.
did. And where'd
course.
she get a shovel?
You outsource it. She got it from the neighbor.
Gee, that's his wife shoveled.
Now, what would
his
be really cool if you
driveway.
told me you had one of those, like, remember when, like, didn't Elon Musk make, like, a flamethrower?
See,
Like,
that's
like,
what I
if you-
want.
If you did that, that'd be awesome. That'd be badass.
No,
I'm glad you mentioned that, Ralph, because I literally did tell my wife we need that exact thing, and she just
Yeah.
looked at me and just turned around and walked out the door. So
But how cool would that be? That'd be
I
pretty
thought-
cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't have an issue with snow out my driveway. That's for sure.
I appreciate, Ralph, that you think we have bits because
This is all real.
What you see is what you get.
Ralph
Tom
is like,
is Tom,
holy
Travis
crap,
is
it's
Travis.
all been real this whole time.
This is-
This is like a whole new world for me right now.
This is it. Okay. So media day. Basically, we got an email. Looks like Stern actually sent out an email to a whole lot of media creators in the pinball creator space, and it was middle of December. So they just said, "Hey, just heads up, we're going to be unveiling our game coming soon." They didn't say what the game was. This was before the trailer, and they just told us, what was it, January 7th. We're like, that's a Tuesday. What? And lucky for Travis, Tom, and I, we're all within driving distance. So we're like, whatever. We'll give it a go.
I mean, they begged us to come, so
yes. Yeah. And but we had no idea who all would be there. And to my surprise, people like Ralph, you guys, you bought a plane ticket and you're there, and it was awesome. There was a great group of people there, and we had a great time. Not only factory tour, but then Brian, Eddie, and Dwight did a great explanation of the game, and then they just let us play. They just let us play the game for however many hours, and we had a good time.
you got to play it, Joel?
I played it just a few times. Yeah, a few times. Wish, in hindsight, I wish they would have had more than 3, because there were definitely more than there were. I mean, there were 4-player games going nonstop. But before we get into our thoughts on D&D, Ralph, when did you get into pin? Like, you're relatively new to this, right?
So I got into pinball from a buddy of mine. He has a YouTube channel too. His name's Arcade Hollywood, and he was like really into like the arcade side of things, right? And he does a ton of stuff. Last year he didn't, but he's done for years. He's helped with Pinball Expo, and so one year he goes, well, hey, why don't you come to Pinball Expo? And my instant reaction was like, can we go to Galloping Ghost when we were there? Like, honestly, I didn't even care. I was like, because I don't know. I didn't know the world that I'm in now until then. So, but it was the year, I think it would have been the year after COVID, right? Because it was Godzilla was the premier game in the Stern area. Okay. And I left that event going, oh my gosh, like I want to buy a pinball machine. Like I need one of these. Like, how did I not know? And I was so shocked at how many people, like I thought we were going to walk into this pinball expo and it was going to be like not that many people, because I didn't understand the popularity. I don't know how, because I was so deep in the arcade space, but I think I would always just go to those like very arcade centric locations that didn't necessarily highlight pinball. But yeah, so I just fell in love with it. And then I bought my first game, like probably a couple of months after that. I bought a Jurassic Park Pro, a used one. And then it was just from there.
Then you're stuck.
It just took off from there. And he said to me privately, and many people did at that Pinball Expo, they were like, I guarantee you within 3 years from this time, you're going to sell the majority of your arcade collection for pinball machines. And that's kind of actually happened. I only have I went from 48 arcade games down to 3.
Wow.
And now I have just pinball and like a couple of arcade games. So
what's the 3 arcades you kept? Because obviously you must really love those arcades if they're still in your collection.
I have an original Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. That's
nice.
It's mostly original. There's some those cabinets were kind of like universal, but it was a Street Fighter 2. And then I have a Sinistar, which is like a game that a lot of people don't like because they don't know how to play it.
Really hard.
They think it's
fun.
asteroids and they just shoot a bunch of stuff, and then Sinistar kills them in 2 seconds, and they're like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Well, you have to mine the crystals. It has a strategy to it."
It sounds like Joel playing pinball. So I understand. Yeah.
The third one is which actually I might get rid of, but the third one is Paperboy, just because I like the unique controls of Paperboy.
It's a very cool controller. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, but
there's one more, but whatever.
Used to do
wait, there's one more. Hang on, Joel. What's the one more? Ralph
the one
Ralph
more
is
no
saying
one,
there's one more.
The one more is like this rare version of Sinistar. So I have 2. It's the cockpit version of it.
Okay.
But it's like to sell it, you have to find a unique buyer, because it's this it's like a vehicle. I mean, it's like a little car. So
oh wow.
Really?
It's kind of unique.
You still have some like emulators and stuff though, right?
I do have that. I didn't count that. So there's a couple of multicades. And then I have an American pinball product, apparently. I have the Polycade. So there you go. I own something from American. I guess it's not American Pinball, but they distribute it, I guess, or something. I still don't understand that partnership, to be honest. But
yeah.
Nobody does, Ro.
Well,
okay,
so I
good.
know,
Well.
I mean, my path, we don't have to get into everything, but my path was similar, which was all arcade. And then you get pinball and then you're hooked. And all of a sudden, all your arcade games are gone because that's money or space that could go towards pinball. And I know you have a heavy arcade 1-up background, modding, emulating. I've seen some of your stuff on that. And so all the arcade games I have been replaced with a Chulix cabinet with a Pandora box, and I'm good with that.
You can scratch your nostalgia itch that way, right? So,
but the reason I was asking this though is because now you actually have a pretty good collection, but it's all modern. Like it's all within the last 2 years, right? Like what's your current lineup?
Pretty much. So I have Jaws Premium, which I've made look like an LE. The one weird thing about me though is I still really enjoy like making them my own too. At first it was more about that and less about playing, less about like getting hardcore into the gameplay. And it's only been over the last like year and a half that I started playing more on location and being like, wow, I really love like learning the deep rules of a game. Even so that's I think that's what's really attracted me to it. It's there's so much more than just what meets the eye, right? It goes very deep, and well, different games do, right? Some are higher level that are easier, and some go really deep. So it's Jaws, it's Uncanny X-Men, which Tom seemed to have got rid of his very, very quickly.
Pro or premium?
It was there for like a day.
It's all Travis's fault.
It's the
Pro
LE on the LE on the Uncanny X-Men.
Okay.
John Wick LE. Yep. I know I get beat up for that one. I traded my Godzilla color for the black and white.
Okay.
I really honestly, and it's weird. Someone else, I think it's who's the guy from Stumbler that does all the mods?
Davey.
Yeah, Davey claimed on a video that his black and white played better than his color, and I agree with that. I feel like either that or I've just gotten that much better. I feel like I just play better on the black and white. So I don't know if like geometry wise they tweaked some things on the black and white. I don't know.
I'm assuming it has the new bushings. So ever since after Godzilla, it was when Stranger Things came out, is when now all the flipper mechs have the bushings have a tighter tolerance. So pretty much any game that's been made after Stranger Things has that. So there are, if you get a Godzilla that was made today, color edition, the flippers are gonna feel stronger than a Godzilla on reveal.
And that must be true because like that owes me like 40 bushings.
Probably.
I think they're like $2 a set. They're Tom. I'm not saying you haven't spent enough.
These games are expensive, Joel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got rid of I had to get rid of something because I can only fit 6 up against the wall, although I do, or 5 up against the wall. So I have, in order for them to be spaced so that you can kind of like have room.
Move the game.
So I got rid of Venom for Metallica Remastered because I really, really fell in love with it when we got to play it.
Good choice.
That game is so much fun.
I think everybody listening will agree with that decision except for Hottie. Shout out Frisco Pinball, but it's Venom's. I mean, I had fun with Venom, but Metallica Remastered is incredible.
Yeah, I love it. And then I do have one. I mean, I'd consider it an older game, but I guess you can go back to EMs would be like probably considered the older games, but I just got a Terminator 2, and so I've been kind of, and I was like on the look. I wanted a Terminator 2 even when I wasn't into pinball because I wanted to put it next to my Terminator 2 arcade game because I had the shooting game.
Yeah.
And I really, there's a whole story on Terminator 2, but it would take too long, so it's not that interesting. So I wouldn't go into it here. But I'm loving that because I'm getting into like I just changed the coils on the flippers, so I'm like really trying to get into like what is it like to maintain the older games.
Yeah.
But speaking
It'll
of
make you
that,
appreciate the newer ones even more.
Well, speaking of that, the one thing that I'm shocked at getting into this hobby because I've been tinkering a lot more. I'm kind of shocked that it's solder joints on everything. Like I'm shocked that no one's got like quick connects for components. I feel like that's something that someone should do.
There are manufacturers
Jersey Jack
that do.
Does.
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Or
I don't mind, but like if you think the general consumer trying to get like someone off the street that doesn't maybe feel comfortable soldering something, because I've had cold solder joints on several of my games, but I just go under there, boop boop, and I'm done.
Yep.
But
there are Some manufacturers do that, where all major coils or mechs have a Molex connector instead of so you could swap out the whole mechs by literally unplugging it. But yeah. But I wanted to ask about your collection, because it sounds like you're at a point where a lot of people get, which is like, I can fit 4 games down here, you can fit 6. So now every new game, if in the back of your head you're thinking, I might want this game, what that means is you got to get rid of one of your games. And so
that's crappy,
now that the
man.
listeners know, Jaws, Godzilla, Wick, X-Men, and Metallica. Those are your 5.
And Terminator 2. Yeah.
And Terminator 2. So it's like this game. So D&D, you show up just like we did. Is this a game that I may buy? You're comparing it to those 6 while Tom's comparing it to his 85 games that he owns.
I don't have that many, Joel.
And 84, my bad. And
are you going to ask me right now if I had to get rid of something? Because I'm already going through my mind thinking.
Sure.
But
which one's out the door?
Yeah.
Which one's out the door, and why is it John Wick?
So you're assuming an arcade game.
So
don't say an arcade game.
You're making a huge ass assumption that I want D&D.
I was there with you. I saw you.
You saw the twinkle. You saw the twinkle. I know.
And
you saw it.
Damn
it. I mean, was I making that obvious?
No. I spoiler alert. Most of us enjoyed the game. Most of us enjoyed it a lot.
I really did.
Yeah. So
I really did.
Which one's on the way out? That's what we want to know.
All right. So I'm gonna say right now I'm really torn between 2. Because there's no way Godzilla's leaving. Metallica, I've really fallen in love with. Like, the game is just fun.
It's so
like you
good.
play it and you smile. Like, it's just fun. I don't know. I have so much fun with it. So I can't imagine Metallica. Jaws, I just feel like, man, the way they integrated the theme is just too cool. And then I love that they went above and beyond with all those extra modes. Like, I was talking to Elizabeth Geese. It's Elizabeth, right?
Elizabeth
Geeske. Yep.
And I was like, man, I love the shark is broken. Like, that was such a creative, cool thing. Like, I actually like that more than the other one, the other mode they did.
The topper mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus
I like
the
it better.
8-bit mode. Okay.
Yeah. I like it better than that, but there's a cool, like, horror, creepy vibe to it. But so that leaves Wick and X-Men. Now, X-Men needs to get better very quickly, because I'm just kind of sick of going through the mission. The missions don't feel that interesting to me. Like, I feel like I'm in and out of them, and I'm like, oh, cool. Like, it doesn't. I don't know. Am I alone with that thought? I just feel like they get a little.
You now know why Tom sold the game. Am I wrong, Tom? Am I speaking out of turn?
Travis killed it. That's all I'm going to say.
He keeps blaming me for it. I just know where the points are, Tom. So I shoot it where the.
No,
so, I mean, but that's the thing.
You were absolutely right. And let me tell you, the points are flowing.
Flowing from that center ramp.
I think what we're all figuring out is, and Ralph, you're probably figuring this out too. It's whenever you're playing pinball and you start realizing what's happening with the rules, whether or not it's points or whether or not it's just the story of the game, you have to hit certain beats, and it has to feel like you're getting constantly rehooked in over and over again. So I talk to a lot of people about this, that it's like, as soon as you hit the start button, that's the first hook, right? Like hearing the sounds and you feel like you're pulled in. Then it's as soon as you plunge. Does that pull you in immediately to hit certain shots? Do you hear the call outs, like the lights, everything pulls in together? And then it becomes, once you're in a mode or a mission, does it feel like you're getting pulled in at that point? And that's kind of where X-Men suffers a little bit, is everything just kind of feels same, even though it's, it's technically not, if you peel back the curtain a little bit and you really dig down into it. But just on the surface, it's understandable how it feels that way, just because the call out, some of the X-Men kind of feeling the same kind of when you hear things. And it's just like, even when we heard D&D, the call outs there, it was apparent. As soon as you hit start, the sound just felt different. The voice cast just hit different. And that makes a big difference, I think, overall, and whether or not a game will stay long-term for people, especially home setting. Because face facts, you hear all the call outs when you're at home. You're on location. You have a hard time hearing it. At home, everything gets pulled back, everything gets revealed. Then you hear everything with that pen. And
so that's the one thing that at Stern, I don't think any of us really have a good understanding of the audio in D&D. I mean, we're in kind of an arcade room, the games we're all been playing. It was hard to, at least for me, it was hard to hear the game. But I have no doubt.
You got to understand. What's the first thing I told you? As soon as Dwight hit start when he was going over some things, what's the first thing I leaned over and told you, Joel?
I think you said I need to fart. Is that? Was
My
that
stomach hurts. I don't know.
I told
Was it
Joel.
about
I
the
told,
music, Travis?
right. I told Joel and
Yes.
Elizabeth, I'm like, you feel it immediately
Yeah.
as soon as you
Yeah.
hit start, and that's the thing. It's like you can't.
Jerry Thompson, right? Is on.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just when some sound packages are going to hit differently than others, they certainly are. But there's no way, like when you look at how this game was marketed, right? It was about the Dragon Mech and it's about the voice cast.
Mhm.
That's the two things. This wasn't like, look at the animations. We have 10 hours of 4K video.
We
It
have
was
AI in our game.
right.
We
There's
had
none of that.
Yeah.
Right. It was strictly, here's the voice cast. It's like 18 characters. When they put the names of the voice cast, that means it means something. And so you have to fully expect that they're going to utilize that voice cast. And I think it's even been put out there that there's 11,000 voiceover lines or above that.
That's what
Pretty much.
Elizabeth said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a-
Right.
It's a
Big
lot.
amount.
And
compared
Elizabeth
to
also
Jaws,
said,
it was like 300.
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this game too, each character, they all have similar call outs, as in because you could play one of 4 characters, but then when you beat the game, you unlock 3 more. And so those 3 more
Mhm.
characters, what she was saying was they technically all have the same lines, but yet they all deliver it differently. They all ad-libbed differently. So it's like, even though some of it may be similar, it's like they all have their own personal traits to them and everything. So and she said, unfortunately, her favorite 3 characters are line wise, dialogue wise, are the 3 you have to unlock. So I really hope that people spend the time to work through the game and beat it and slowly unlock those characters so they can get to enjoy how much is actually built in that game. But
Well, they should be able to, though, Joel, because
with
a new
pin
thing
save,
on this
I know.
game. Yes. Yep. I
Which-
think that'll change things a lot.
absolutely. And okay, before we get into the nitty gritty, what I want to say is the 4 of us all went, but I think the 4 of us had different thoughts going into it. And what I mean by that is, Tom, do I need this game? Do I need to buy this game? Because I know, Tom, you've said like you've bought the last few and some of them haven't stayed very long. So it's like, do I need to jump on this now? Should I wait? I know Ralph is probably thinking, do I want this game? I'm looking at it as like, okay, I'm going to stream this in a month. I just want to learn as much as I can. Travis, though, had a unique perspective because Travis works for the pinball company. And there was a decision there on, is this game a game that the company wants to commit to selling? And just to a peek behind the curtain, like pinball companies, you get an allocation where it's like, this is the amount of games that Stern has for you. Are you taking them or not? And the thing is, if you don't, then you might get less on the next game or the next, like you'll get dinged for it potentially. And the next game is
For the
Elwyn.
record, Stern, this is Joel talking.
This is me talking.
Not me.
This is
For
this
the
is me.
record.
This is what
For
I've
the
heard
record.
from all distributors. It is a decision. You have to make a rather large decision of, am I prepared to sell this at
Right. Yeah.
So
and to be
that
fair,
was your
too,
perspective
Stern,
coming
yeah,
into the
and
game.
Stern
Yeah.
invited the distributors and dealers up too prior to the media that morning.
Mhm.
So the only reason why we weren't there is because
you can't shovel a driveway.
Yeah, because I don't
Yeah.
own a shovel. So that's why we weren't there for that one. But yeah, I talked to you guys before this came out. I know nothing about Dungeons and Dragons. All I know is how I look at a theme, how will it appeal to people. And this one, all the metrics and all the analysis that I had, it scared me, quite frankly,
Yep.
because I didn't know. And it's certain things weren't matching up. I'm not going to say what those are publicly, but certain things weren't matching up. So I knew because it wasn't matching up front, that there had to be a strong push early on in the release of this for it to get out there and for people to notice it, because it's pinball. People are always going to know the next pin, right? Like anybody that's listening to this podcast, they already know because they're on Pinside, they're on Facebook, they listen to content, and we all know, like we all talk about it. But for this, it was very much the unknown, like what's going to happen. And let's face facts too. There was a lot of uneasiness because Brian Eddy's last design was Venom. Let's face facts. Venom didn't perform compared to the other pinball machines that have come out, and Stern has said as much. So we were curious to see what that would be like, whether or not it was going to be another fan layout or whether or not he was going to go to a dynamic layout. And of course, he opted for a dynamic layout, which was great to see. It's something that's fresh by him that he hasn't done in a few years. So yeah, that was kind of like my mindset was, looking at this pinball machine and saying, okay, not only will the pinball enthusiasts, will they be into it, but will somebody beyond pinball right now be into it? Like, will this be the hook? Because without Star Wars, because keep in mind, Star Wars just got vaulted, right?
Yeah.
That was the number one theme that would hook a brand new player to pinball. Brand new, because Star Wars is like by far the biggest theme out of anything. So it's almost like you still need those themes to hook somebody new to get them interested, right? Because we're interested in pinball. We all are, and then theme. But people that don't know pinball, it's going to be theme first. That will draw them in, and then they'll see something unique like pinball, and that might get them going. And I think that's what we're seeing here. That's kind of the dynamic that's happening. I'm happy it did. I really am.
So let's just go around then, and I'm curious, Travis, because spoiler alert, you guys are excited about the game. You are fully prepared to sell this game. Like it was a good. What you saw on Media Day was positive. But
from
Tom,
a business standpoint, yes,
from a business exactly.
Yep.
So
Yep.
like all good, and I've heard that from other distributors, or I've heard when it comes to allocation, like. It sounds like pretty much everybody's in. This is a game that they're prepared to sell and sell well, which is great.
I feel confident in saying that this LE will sell through by Stern, and I think distributors and dealers will sell out of it eventually. I don't see this as sitting around too long,
which is great. So let's just go around real quick. We'll start with Tom. But Tom, what was at the Media Day? Was it during the presentation? Was it during your initial play? What stood out to you in a positive way, as in like, okay, that's cool? Or like, what was, is there a moment? Is there a mech? Is there something about the rules? What stood out to you that you experienced on Media Day?
I was pleasantly surprised by like a lot of the modes. Of course I had Dwight and Elizabeth right by me, kind of guiding me through the game, but I was surprised at how really deep this game is going to be, and I don't think anybody could really get through it in one session. Like it just seems like it just keeps building and building on top of itself. And like I wasn't the biggest fan of Venom. I didn't think the layout was great on it. This layout is like 10 times better than Venom. The shots are all there. It's pretty open game, I guess I want to say. Like it's not
it's accessible, right?
It's accessible. That's exactly it. And maybe in some regards a little too accessible. But I thought it was great. I honestly did.
Yeah.
I know there's some things like if it was in a tournament, I know I'd have to change some things, but yeah, overall it seems like it could be a winner.
I think all that's accurate. I know the modes. That was going to be my answer as well. Was just what was so cool was this was a game that I wanted to watch other people play because you can explore the map in so many different ways. And Elizabeth said there are 6 cities, each city or town. There are 6 towns. 2 of the towns have 2 modes. 2 of the towns have 3 modes, and 2 of the towns have 1 mode. So you do the math. That's 12 modes total, and they're all different. And that was what was cool was even though I couldn't really hear them, but like looking over and it's like, okay, what's going on in that mode? Oh, that's clearly a switch-based mode. The one mode I've described many times, there's like a sneak factor. There's a sneak percentage. So every time you hit the slings, that percentage goes down. And if it ever gets to 0, then guards pop out. So now instead of hitting the shots you need for the mode, you got to defeat the guards before you can hit the shots again for the mode.
Yeah,
like
and that mode
like
really fits that theme.
100%.
Right.
Yes, right. And that's the dungeons too. I watched Tom. He was in a dungeon and it has multiple levels, multiple phases to it. And phase 1 was very different than phase 2. And it's like that's that storyline that just have me play this game in a different way. Like I'm all about that. So I huge hats off to Elizabeth and Dwight for some amazing modes. And I don't think I've seen like, I don't know, 5. Like there's so much more. Every town has its own dungeon. Every dungeon has multiple phases. Like the wizard modes aren't even, there's 3 wizard modes. They're not even in the game yet. Like there's clearly going to be a ton of content in this game to explore. Ralph, what stood out to you? What was the that twinkle in your eye? When did that appear? When did that appear on January 7th?
Well, I definitely didn't go into it. Like I almost went into it thinking, oh, I'm not gonna buy it. Like it's gonna, because I'm not a Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Like I didn't grow up playing it. So I kind of just thought, oh, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna enjoy it, and then I get to talk about it, and that was kind of gonna be it. And then and honestly, I love Dwight and Brian. They're both great, but when they were going through, like, I would prefer when someone tells me about the game, like I watch your guys' content for that, really, because it's like
cool.
a consolidated, concise, like this is what you do. They went very, very heavy into it, and so it's hard, right? You bring us all into the room and then you show us these games, and I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to play. So I think there was a part of me where their voices started to sound like wah wah, even though they were saying awesome stuff. So I felt bad because I'm like, I don't care right now. Like now I want to just play it. But I appreciated that they did that. And also it was really cool to, I think you guys both mentioned it, but it was really cool that Elizabeth, like she was really into wanting to hear feedback, but also coming over and saying like, hey, explore this or that. So I thought that was really helpful. But it wasn't until actually I played it that I go, oh, wow, this actually is a game I think I would really enjoy. And some of it for me was so there's, I know it's been said probably multiple times, but I thought it was kind of cool where that shot where that third flipper is, where you kind of like shoot, I think it's like the left side of the gelatinous cube, and it kind of loops around and then it holds it for a second. Yep. It allows someone like me who's maybe not as skilled to like take some time with that shot. And I loved that because that shot was really satisfying when you shoot that ramp across the other way. I just found I was like really happy with the way it was shooting. Like the shots were very, very fun. And then when you piled on the like painstaking long time they probably took in like kind of coming up with all these rules and cool modes to do, I was like, this is going to be one of those really cool at home games because there's so much to explore. Yeah. And I was in my mind going back to X-Men. And by the way, I do like X-Men. It's fun to shoot. I don't want to make it seem like I'm like, it has really fun shots and stuff, but there's just not as much to it. So I was thinking, wow, this is one where I could invest a lot of time in at home, where X-Men I feel like I'm already kind of bored with, unfortunately. So yeah, it hooked me like that. And to your point though, Joel, the one thing I would have liked to get a little bit more of is I hate when it is an allowed environment, it is really hard to get a grasp of like how, because there are so many amazing call outs that we heard in the trailers that we didn't really get to hear or experience as much. And then the music sounded like it was going to be really cool. And in the beginning when it wasn't as loud, but if you remember the tail end of that day, there was a lot more people in that room. So at that point you couldn't hear really anything. You were just hearing like the flippers and like, they have the basically the mechanical aspects of the game. But I'm excited, and I think there's some cool, innovative stuff in there too. Like the dungeon crawl thing is pretty neat, and I'm sure I'll reserve this part. But I think this is one where I have a way different opinion than I normally do about like the trim level and what one I would potentially buy if I was like looking at this game.
Okay, because you've mentioned X-Men LE, Wick LE, so I'm
that might have been me being.
I'm guessing you're not leaning towards the LE is what I'm hearing.
No, I don't think you have to here. That's what's cool about it.
Yeah. We'll get more into that, the Pro versus the Premium LE for sure. Audio, I've heard somebody say that they feel that audio is like 50% of the pinball experience, and that's what's tough about playing a game at a show, or even in this environment or arcade environment. If you like, you really are missing out on a huge part of, in my opinion, the experience, which could be good or bad. There have been pinball machines that I've streamed, and I know 15 minutes into playing, like this, I'm like this. How do I turn down this music? Like this music is already grating on me, while others, it's like, holy cow, this is really
ripping on Rush.
I didn't say Rush. I did not say Rush. Travis, at what point on Tuesday did you think to yourself, okay, we can sell these? Like this is something I can market?
I mean, honestly, we kind of knew already on the drive up there because we were like working all the way up there and just working hard on just marketing stuff and all that. But I mean, I don't know. It's like my opinions on it's kind of unique because I have the personal opinions and then I have the business opinions, right? Because at the end of the day, to sell a game, of course, you want to sell a game that somebody else wants. It doesn't matter necessarily what your opinion is. All that matters is the customer end user happy with what they got, So I think that's important. So usually when I'm looking at a game, first and foremost, I'm thinking, okay, how does the average person view this? And when I say average, I'm meaning like the average consumer that might get a game, might not, kind of knows pinball, kind of doesn't, may, it's like the same way if we have like an Xbox, right? We might buy a game on there. It doesn't mean that we're going to frequent like every single message board and talk about the lore of the game. We might go deep, we might not. So that's kind of how I approach that. Like just to find that baseline average level of somebody that might get it and might go deep into it. So just looking at this game, when I saw it, first off, seeing a different layout, big plus, like big plus, because if you can get, yes, like Attack from Mars and Medieval Madness, yes, it was big for the day that it was in, like back in the early 90s, late 80s, like those days, yes, it made sense to have a fan layout, to have, the different sounds with that. But now when you get into it, these games, they go mostly to homes nowadays. They just do. So therefore, having something interesting for somebody to play is really needed. And the way that you can do that is through a dynamic layout at the beginning. That's why Keith Elwin games are so damn popular, because the layouts are always dynamic. They're always interesting. That's where people go nuts whenever, at the beginning for X-Men when it came out, because the layout was unique. It was something a little bit different that a lot of people hadn't seen before. So that's the first thing I noticed. And the second thing I noticed is that dragon mech is freaking huge. Like,
it's so much bigger than it looked in the videos. So much bigger.
Yes. The videos, the pictures, it does not do it justice. I was looking at that thing. I was just like, how the hell did they fit it in there? And I don't know if it's because of just like the cave part of it. That's just, they managed to get that sculpt really big. And obviously that, the cave part doesn't move. The dragon head moves, but it takes up a lot of real estate, though, an incredible amount. And if you really want to get an idea of how much real estate it truly takes up, just watch back on Stern's gameplay reveal, because this might have got lost on a lot of people because there's just so much going on for that. And I got thoughts about that reveal, but there's so much going on there that if you just sit there and just watch nothing but Wrath the Relentless, which Joel, Wrath is the dragon. I have confirmed that. That just makes sense. But if you look at that dragon, you'll see how far it moves. And it moves
on the premium and LE,
a lot.
Side to side.
Yeah, it moves a lot. And so that was the next thing I noticed. And honestly, I thought, personally, for me, I thought the coolest mech on there, though, was the cube. Yeah. I was actually more impressed by the cube than I was the dragon. Yes.
That was a lot bigger than I thought it would be, too.
Yeah, the cube was massive. But that magnet, though, I really liked how that was implemented. And I wasn't expecting that at all, because I don't remember that being on any of the marketing material, how they explained it, except for during the gameplay reveal. They kind of briefly explained it. But yeah, Joel, do you want to tell everybody what that cube actually has in it?
The gelatinous cube has a... So, I mean, in D&D, the whole thing of the gelatinous cube, like when you're battling it, you're just stuck in it. Like it's really hard to battle because you're stuck. And they implemented it really well, because there's a magnet. But it's one magnet, but because it's elevated off the play field, they can use the magnet to talk about what Ralph said, where they can slow the ball down when it's on the lower orbit, to just stop the ball for a second and then drop it on your upper plate, on your upper flipper, to give you a better shot with the upper, because it's controlled at that point. I think we all know in 3 or 4 flipper games, a lot of times the upper flippers get ignored by casual players because they're just they don't think to look up there or realize they're behind on the ball or whatnot. So the fact that they can use that magnet to help with that shot is awesome. But then that magnet is also, it can grab the ball on the upper side. So there's an up-down ramp on the left orbit. And if the ramp is down, that means when you hit the ball, it's going to go up the ramp and then go through the cube. And you hit that enough times, it'll lock a ball up there. But I don't know the exact combination, but to start the gelatinous cube multi-ball, you're supposed to knock that ball off the magnet. So you're supposed to hit that left side again. But there is a way where you can lock a ball under it. There's a way you can get a 4-ball multi-ball. So I think it's by hitting the left side, it releases a ball again, but keeps that other ball locked. Okay. Where you can keep going. I think, because I could have swore they said that if you hit the right orbit while it's there, then it's just a 3-ball.
multi-ball.
Okay, there's some way to
think
do
that's
it.
how it
I mean,
works.
you might be able to hit that kind of horseshoe shot in the upper right because that would be a slower shot. Maybe the magnet will grab
yeah,
then.
I'm not sure.
But there's
yeah.
a way that you can basically get it to lock 2 balls, then you hit the ball off the magnet, and then it ejects out of force. So that gelatinous cube multi-ball can be anywhere from 2 to 4 balls, and it's just a really unique mech. I mean, magnets are awesome, but I think that mech is awesome. The dragon mech, though, I know personally, I want a game that's going to keep me entertained, but I also want a game that anybody can walk up to and have a good time. And that was one of my issues with Venom. Was it was when Venom was in my house, there wasn't anything that I could point to like tell my wife or whoever, like, just do that, and watch what happens. Like, they're just, as much as the moving playfield, how as cool as that is for a novice player, they're not noticing. They don't see that. And this game's the opposite. This game has the gelatinous cube is really cool. That upper flipper shot is really cool. But the dragon, the way we played it, you have to spell dragon, so you hit the gold underneath him. They had it already set up to 3, so you only had to hit that 3 times, and then you had to hit the right orbit. So it's like,
and hopefully they leave it like that. I think that's by far the smartest thing you can do, is to have your main mech fully involved as early as possible in the game, because it feels like a boss battle 100%. Immediately, like very quickly, and that's excellent for casuals.
So 3 shots to the gold, and then 1 shot to the right orbit, and if they can do that, then you're in an incredibly unique multi-ball. I don't know if anybody wants to describe that or their feelings on that, but yeah,
I have thoughts. Tom has thoughts. Ralph has thoughts too, I bet.
Let's start with Tom's thoughts. Tom, what are your thoughts? Did you ever even do the dragon? I know you loved the gelatinous cube multi-ball. Every time I saw you play, that was the multi-ball you were playing over and over again.
No, I mean, I played the dragon once or twice. But I was doing more of the pin save stuff, so I was like continuing on my
You're focusing
games
more
every
on
time
modes.
I played it. But no, yeah, like the dragon's pretty cool. I mean, you like you were saying, you start the multi-ball, and then you can pop your shield up, and there's just balls spitting around everywhere. So on the Pro, it's 6, and on the Premium LE, it's 8.
Yep.
And you're basically battling the dragon, and you have to basically hit the dragon as many times as it says. I think it was like 5, versus like draining like 15 of your balls. So like balls will continually shoot out, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of the like wizard mode on World Cup Soccer. Like you had to shoot a goal, but like when you drain the ball, like it counts against you. So it reminded me just a little bit like that, but this was more I don't know, like
chaotic.
It was a fight. It was a fight. Yeah, it was definitely more chaotic. You definitely want to use that shield when you're in that mode, but
and just to clarify, so on a Premium LE, the head goes left and right, but then it also goes up and down. And what's neat is when the head's up, you can't hit it. So during that multi-ball, during that chaos, you have to watch. You have to wait to see when he swoops his head down. And when he swoops his head down, that's when you want to hit him to hit his jaw.
I don't know if you got to watch it. We saw Kerry Hardy complete it, so I think anybody could complete it.
I was on a pro.
It's not, but you can't just, well, you probably could. Well, Kerry probably flailed. But anyway, it's you do have to, but there's a timing aspect to it. It's not just hit the bash toy that's always there. Like there is a dynamic aspect to it. And then on the pro doesn't go left and right, but it still goes up and down. So you're trying to track, all these balls that are flying around, trying to make sure you don't drain any of them. But then out of the corner of your eye, you're like, oh, the head's down. I need a head over there. Because if the head's up, the gold targets are actually kind of dangerous. It's a wall, basically. I mean, the ball's going to come flying back at you.
There's a huge nuance, though. Did you realize what the nuance was as soon as the dragon head went up? I don't know if anybody else noticed this. There's still shots out there on the playfield for jackpots.
Yes.
So
if you care about points.
I didn't notice that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, and that's very unique that some people noticed it, some didn't. And I think that's great because that shows it's like the game really wants your attention right there. But if you're, the type of knucklehead like I am, that you want to try to score some points, it's like, that's available too, which is pretty cool because it's like you still have to beat the dragon, right?
Yeah.
To get to your celebration multi-ball or victory multi-ball, whatever it was that they called it. But the idea of like still scoring jackpots and building up value when you can't actually attack the dragon It's almost like thematically, it's almost as if you're getting your guys in place or you're getting your shots in place just to get a bigger shot off, something like that. So it's not just all spam all day if you don't want it to be. But what's great is you're not missing out on anything either if you do just want to spam the dragon the whole time as well.
Absolutely.
So that's the mark of a great mode when you do something like that.
And I asked, I think it was Dwight, I said, are you concerned at all that tournament players will just cradle up, like 5 balls on the left flipper and just wait, pop a shot when he goes down? And he goes, no, the tournament players are going to be too distracted by all the jackpots on the ramps and stuff. So he goes, they're not going to want to rush through this battle because they're going to want to be cashing out on jackpots. And it's not until they're down to, only having 3 balls left or something before they lose that all of a sudden now they're going to start attacking the dragon. So having that, that's really cool. So I'm just, for a novice to step up to the game, I hope I think that they may be able to experience a very cool multi-ball that basically has an endless ball save for a good period of time for them to just go nuts on, because it's very thematic.
Let's do this, Joel. An easy way to describe this to the people that have not got a chance to play this yet. And we'll just start with Ralph. In just a couple of sentences, what was your feeling as soon as you first got in to the first Dragon multi-ball and you first experienced it?
Oh, I was like super excited. I mean, it was so exciting. I mean, exciting would be the word I would use, but it was funny because I got to tell this really quick because it has to do with the dragon. So Elizabeth was like telling me what town to pick and all these things and what character I should. She's like, well, what do you like doing? And she was really explaining it to me. And I was following what she was saying for a while. And I was actually playing. It was weird. I was like, I feel like you standing next to me is really making me play better because I was playing way better than I normally do, which was making me feel good because I feel like if one of you guys came over, I would probably be terrible and it would make me feel embarrassed. But
I got you, Ralph. Don't worry.
You'd
be fine.
To me.
I experienced that when Joel was by me too.
Yeah.
So she goes, after a while, I started, I guess, getting distracted by the dragon. And she's like, so I was focusing on the dragon. She wasn't meaning, she's so sweet. She's like, you really like the dragon. But it was like funny how she said it. She's like, you really like that dragon, like, don't you? And I was like, yeah. so I definitely was one that it was fun. But what was weird is I had a couple friends that went to CES and they were telling me that they stayed away from the dragon because when they were hitting that targets, that it was like really, like they were draining those balls and that it was a dangerous shot. I don't know if those games are maybe not leveled right because I felt like as long as I was paying attention, I could hit that and not like I was safe. I could safely hit it, and it wasn't going like straight down the middle every time I hit it. So I don't know, but I was hearing some weird things about the pitch and the level of the games at CES. So I think they were probably set up better for us than they were at the CES show.
That wouldn't shock me at all because the difference between a game that goes out across the country and gets set up, you're at the mercy of whoever's setting that up, and then how much it's being played. Whereas if you have it in a controlled environment, like we had at the Stern factory, hopefully those were set up and pretty well dialed in. Because if they weren't, then that would be.
Do you guys think that they put the pitch on all the games? Like I wasn't noticing because I was like so enamored with playing it. But do you think they put those all at 6.5 just for purposes of
all
that?
Those games are on training wheels for sure. We were all on Joel mode, no doubt.
Then I guess it's Ralph mode too, Joel.
Yeah.
So you can pick on me too.
It scored higher than Tom mode at some point. What did you just say?
That's because I was in the pin save. I was in the wizard mode.
I will say though that's an excellent way to enjoy pinball though. Like we mess with Joel all the time about it, but truth be told, you get outside of tournaments. I mean, you want the games to be enjoyable. You want to get progression. Yeah, that's the key, and that's why I like that Dragon multi-ball early on. Yes, the targets are dangerous, and they always will be just because it's stand-up targets.
Yeah, they're closer to the flippers.
Right, exactly. And, I mean, it's Stern flippers. Like that ball comes off like a rocket now. Yeah. So you never know with that. But I think having the shield early on, I forget, was the shield available off the plunge?
From the get.
Okay, so so it's almost like one of those things. All you want to do then, if you're a newer player or you just want to experience that, maybe it's just plunging, tap the button, get your shield up immediately, and then just go to town while the ball saves on. Yep. And you might be able to hammer it out and have your right orbit lit like super early to get into that multi-ball. So that might be the meta to do something like that.
Did you guys have problems with the shield at all? Because I had a conversation with Elizabeth about it.
Yeah, I think
didn't.
that there's probably like a minor bug in it, I think, because there was a few times I was just tapping it with the shield light on and it didn't come up
So she
when
said
it should have.
she
So
was
I
trying
wasn't
to
sure.
explain it code wise to me, but she was saying
Mhm.
like the code is looking for the switch to open close really fast.
Mhm.
So it's meant to be a fast tap. And she said her and Dwight were actually having like not an argument, but she was saying, well, look, if it's a fast tap, like some people are naturally like gonna like maybe a casual might hold it for longer, but then the shield's not gonna come up. So she was trying to say, let's just make it a button press that maybe is a little bit more resilient to how long it's open close. And I did experience that a little bit because I have a video of me playing and I'm hitting it a couple times, and then one time I kind of quick flick it and it came up no problem. So I don't know. I guess there's some debate on that.
That could be it though, Ralph, because I experienced the same thing. And even like I thought I was just tapping it and it still didn't come up a couple of times.
Okay.
And then it eventually
Tom,
came
did you
up.
get it
So
up?
maybe I'm just not fast enough. I don't know.
Can always get
Is this
it up.
gonna get
Joel.
weird?
Yeah, Tom got it up. No problem.
No problem.
No problem. Yeah.
Joel, you have the vasectomy. Okay.
That doesn't affect.
Let's go ahead. If we
You
want to
know.
go there, Joel, we will go there.
I didn't
I
go
appreciate
there.
that
I
part.
wasn't going there.
I appreciate
Sorry,
that
Ralph.
part
Mom
of
and
the
Dad are
podcast.
going to argue here.
No, I
You
appreciate
appreciated
that
that,
part.
Ralph?
Yeah, only because I haven't gone one yet, and I think I'm gonna need to. So I was like, "Hey, like, Joel, share the experience, please."
The reverse commercial of the. Anyways,
But I will say with the Teolis button there or the action button there,
Yeah.
that it does have like right above the lockdown bar, it does have a graphic that shows what to do with the action button, right? It clearly says like tap to raise shield and hold and release it
For
to like
ranged
I didn't
ranged
even
weapon.
see that.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So yeah,
reading.
and that's fine.
Nobody does it.
It's
Yeah,
literally
you're
right
okay,
on the
Ralph.
button.
Yeah, like literally only 5% of people do it. But it is there. But honestly, that's where I was like trying to tap it. And even Dwight was right there. And Dwight was like, I think he eventually helped me. Shit, I'm gonna have to say it. Okay, Joel. He eventually helped me get it up, and yeah, the shield did come up eventually. So maybe it was just me. Maybe I'm the one with the problem.
No,
Ralph and I will figure it out.
I just want to
It's fine.
clarify all that. So the shield, there is a physical mech between the flippers that comes up and it stays up for a period of time. And it, depending on what character you have or perks, it'll stay up longer or shorter. And it's awesome because it really fills that gap perfectly. And you can even set up shots by letting the ball rest between the shield and the tip of your flipper, and then you can like backhand some shots you normally won't. It is a very cool mech. It is not a reactive mech, and what I mean by that is it's not like a ball save thing like the life ring on Jaws or a magna save on another game of like, oh crap, and it's more you want to do it. It's strategic, and I love that. So if you know it's like, okay, I'm the dragon's gold shot. I have actually drained off that more than once when I was there. And it's like if you're not paying attention or you try to do a bailout
Shocker,
shot.
Tom.
Yeah. Try to do a bailout shot and you hit the gold and then the thing comes screaming back at you. It's like crap. I messed up. So what I'm saying though is if your goal, if you're playing somebody and it's like I just got to get into that multi-ball, throw your shield up, give yourself, 5-10 seconds of protection and then bash the gold. And that's what I think is really cool. I don't know of another mech like that where I'm like strategically saying I'm going to enable this to give me a little bit of comfort for the next 10 seconds. Now the button, what they're saying is, yes, you have to tap it to pop the shield up. If you're in a battle, the button will flash blue. And what that is there's a range attack. Every character has a range attack. If you look at all the main shots, they have a larger arrow, which is typically indicating the mode or what you need to do with that. And then there's a smaller, like equilateral triangle. It is a smaller triangle. And what that does is if you push and hold the button, you'll see a blue light like scrolling across those triangles very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you let go of the button, so you push and hold, and then you let go of the button, that's where you're shooting your range attack. So you can attack creatures, or what Elizabeth or Dwight was saying is you can purposely like miss and it'll distract the creature. So it'll keep them from attacking you a little longer. And that shot has a cooldown period. So after so many seconds, it'll flash blue again and then you can use it again. So more strategy. So when you're in a battle, it's like, do I want to attack? Do I want to hit my mode shots? Should I have my shield up? Should I be using my range weapon? And then there's perks associated with that. So later on, they said the arrow will either slow down based on your abilities, or they said there's like a artifact that you can find that would give you 2 arrows out there. So you're shooting, and it's just that type of strategy / like thought process of what should I be doing right now? Playing defense, offense, modes.
I didn't
range,
know about
like,
the
I love
distraction.
that.
That's really cool, actually. I did not know about that.
Yeah, and it's just, and I get it for like, how do you communicate all these nuances to Joe Schmo that just steps up to the game? I guarantee there were people at the media day that never knew there was a range weapon. Like, they have no idea why the button flashed blue.
Well,
I only
actually,
knew 'cause they
Elizabeth
told me to do
me.
it.
I wouldn't have
Elizabeth
known.
did tell me about it, but I don't think she told me about the
You
distraction
mean the three
part.
of you didn't see the graphic?
I didn't
Is that what
read.
you
Oh,
three
does
are
it
saying?
actually
Tell
say
you
that
right
too?
now, I didn't read a thing.
Oh man,
Well, it doesn't say that part, Ralph, but like
Okay.
right above the action, it's literally right above the action button. It says what the action button does.
I was looking at the
Oh,
dragon,
man.
and so was Ralph.
I'm more disappointed in Tom than I am Joel and Ralph. Tom.
I was totally immersed in the playfield. I didn't look at anything.
Tom was
I
like,
have
you
mild-
He loved it. He loves that
I have
cube,
mild
man.
ADD though, so like I kind of like I get so excited about stuff. So
Right.
yeah,
You see
That's my
something
excuse.
flashing, you're like, I'm gonna bash it. I'm gonna hit it.
yeah.
Ralph, are you saying you're one of those guys? Have you ever played Rush before, Ralph?
I have in tournaments, but that's it.
Okay.
Not like for
Are
a
you-
long
are you-
period of time.
Are you one of those guys that when you drain out, you automatically just hit the button no matter what?
Oh yeah,
the
like
action
if I'm playing Black Knight, or is it Black Knight that has the Magna
Yeah.
save?
Yep,
Oh yeah, I
yep,
hit it all
yeah.
the time. I'm like, why did I just do that? There's no point of doing it. Yeah, or I'll
That's my
drain
favorite.
I'll drain down the middle and hit my life preserver on Jaws just because I'm like the shit. Then I just hit
Yeah.
it.
Well, Deadpool has the boom button, and I think a lot of people are just used to that, where it's like you go to drain, you're like, let me get rid of
Yeah.
that. Let's see if
Yeah.
I can get another shot in
You
real quick.
Boom button, an unlit shot. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
high
with
level
this, yeah,
strat.
you drain and and all of a sudden,
Well,
boop, there's my
rush,
shield.
rush
That's
all
helpful.
rush. All you're doing is just changing the diverter.
diverter.
That's all you're doing on the way out. So
Yeah.
Well, what's the
But-
shot on X-Men that you charge up?
Bishop.
If I drain, I still do
Bishop.
the bishop shot. I still do it. I'm like, maybe I can get it one
No,
last
no,
time.
you're like, Bishop's coming for me.
Which
Yeah.
that is very similar to what Joel was talking about with the
Yeah.
arrow. It's
And
like
let's be-
almost the same thing.
Let's be clear about it, because when Dwight was explaining to me the range weapon, he goes, yeah, you push and hold and you wait for the arrow to scroll and then you let go when you want to shoot. I go, oh, just like the bishop shot. And he goes, no, I did it first. It is not. He goes, it is not like the bishop shot. And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
okay. I was like,
All right,
well, I'll
so
make
truth
sure.
be told,
Yes.
now
It's not
Dwight
like
was the one who
No.
came up with the bishop shot.
Yes. So from now on, when we're talking about X-Men, and they're like, "How does the bishop shot work?" It's like the range weapon in D&D. That's how we need to.
There you
This
go.
That's how we
explains why
describe
Joel
it.
was put in timeout for 5 minutes. Okay,
No.
I understand now. That makes sense.
It was not. So.
Oh yeah, while we were playing, Joel reset our game, right, Travis?
I
Oh my God, Tom!
I broke it.
I wasn't going
broke
to
the
say
game.
anything. Ralph, do you know what happened here?
No, did
so-
you guys break something? I didn't
Dude.
hear this.
Dude, the a-hole directly to your right, at least that I'm watching on here, he's the one that did it.
I
So
didn't. Okay.
What did you do?
Okay, here's what
I
happened.
played the
wa-
game, Ralph. That's what I
No,
did.
no. You played my game.
Yeah.
I let
True,
you
that
play
is true.
my game. Yeah, here's what happened. I
Here's
logged
my extra
in.
ball for you, Joel.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. I logged in. I played the dragon. I got the dragon too. I'm like, okay, I played this enough. Let's let somebody else have a turn. I
Me?
look around and there's
Please?
Joel just standing
Me?
there like a little puppy dog. And I'm like, okay, Joel, I'll be nice to you. So for the record, I am nice to Joel without cameras on or anything like that.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, come here, little buddy. Play my extra
That's
ball.
the bit. That's the
Yeah.
bit right there.
Yeah. So he gets up and he starts playing, and within like 10 seconds,
Yeah.
he just crashes the whole game.
Crashed
And
the
I'm
game.
like,
Oh man,
great. And so you know what else, Ralph? What
Yeah.
happened? I go back, I look at all my achievements. Gone.
No,
Nothing
no.
there. They're all
He got
gone.
nothing.
Oh no!
And you know what this a-hole did? Then he sends me a screenshot
Of
of
mine.
all of his achievements that he has.
So mine are fine. Mine are,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
As soon as they did their whole spiel and then they're like, okay, play. Well, there's 20 people there and they all boom hop on games. I was like, I'll wait a second. So I went over. I played 2 games of X-Men.
Oh,
Played a
wait,
game of
mess up
Metallica.
Travis's game. That's
Then I
what it
walk over
was.
and Travis was like, hey Joel, you want to play my extra ball? Sure. So I bashed the dragon a few times. He came down. I hit him 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden the head is just like it's just like limp all
no.
like just I was like, oh, so that's what killing the dragon looks like. Like I thought it was like dead on the, and then all of a sudden the flippers die and everything drains, and they're like, Joel, and Dwight's like, what happened? And they're like, and then all of a sudden they're like, Joel broke it. I was like, I've stood at this machine for 10 seconds. Okay, like, how is this my fault? But what's funny is just watching Elizabeth and Dwight. They're like, no, seriously, like, what happened? Like, what had gone on? I'm like, this wasn't even my. And Travis is like, well, this is what I did.
I had to explain all the way through.
Here we go. And they're like, okay,
let me paint a picture for you. The equivalent of this is like where Joel and I are the kids. And we're downstairs and the parents are upstairs and there's a loud bang. And the parents come and then the finger pointing happens and I have to step up and explain what actually happened. That's what it was.
Yeah,
that's very much to a T what happened there.
Pretty much. Besides...
But a big thing though, Joel, there is a big thing. So we talked about the dragon. We do need to talk about the other thing because Tom alluded to it and he obviously used it a lot. And that's the pin save. So that's like, to me, that's a big deal with this. So Tom, what were you doing with the pin save when you were playing?
So basically I would continue my character. So you have the option of either playing, you can use your character and you can start where you basically last left off, or you can kind of start from the beginning. So it's a pretty cool feature. I like that. I wish more games had that, because it would, when you're doing well and all of a sudden you crap the bed because Joel's talking to you while you're trying to play. It would be nice to just go, okay, well, I'll just log in and start where I left off.
So you, by default, when you log in with Insider Connected, there are four characters, and you pick what character you want. If I play a 3-ball game, and in that game I beat 2 modes, what that means is next time I step up to the machine, if I pick that character again and I'm logged in, my 2 modes are already beaten. Wherever I was, whatever town I was in, if I was out in a dungeon, wherever I was, boom, that's where you pick off. So they say your character never dies in the game. When you drain all 3 balls, you're knocked out. So when you log in again or hit start again, boom, you're back up, you're ready to go. What is neat though is out of the 4 characters, they said there are 4 characters, but they're actually 4 different parties is what they're saying. So what that means is if I choose the wizard and I beat 2 modes with her, and then the next game I pick somebody else, I'm back to 0. So it's like you could have 4 different paths, 4 different levels of accomplishment going at any point. And then if you happen to unlock the other 3, technically you could have 3 other paths saved. And that's what's really neat is you're basically getting multiple save files and you can pick up where you left off. Or if they're saying, if for whatever reason you don't want to do that, before you hit start, you can hit the action button and you can do a 1-shot. So you're still getting achievements, but you're back to a cleared map. And so that's what, from a replayability standpoint, to me, I'm super excited about this game. Like in a 2-hour stream, if I start at 0, is there any way that I'm going to see the end of the game in 2 hours of nonstop progression? Maybe, I don't know. But if I happen to play a mode I really like, I could then just log in with a different character and play that mode again. Like that's
and it fits the theme really too, because
so much.
If you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and for 5 hours or whatever, and you you had to leave and come back in a week, you could continue where you left off.
I played Dungeons and Dragons for like 2 years with my brother-in-law, and we played one campaign for 2 years, one extended storyline for 2 years of every Sunday getting together and our character picking up where we left off. So I think the
Travis,
the thematic side of this is
he
fantastic.
is a nerd.
To
be fair, if I played D&D, my character would have like a ZZ Top beard. He would be such a badass.
So your fantasy character, really the only attribute you need is a beard.
It's a fantasy for a reason, Joel. It's not based off real life. I can't grow a beard. I
See, Ralph, that. You could actually replace Travis on this podcast.
He'd be like he'd be some warrior with a beard and a shovel.
If there's any other content,
I have a shovel in D&D.
The shovel? That's awesome.
Yep. Ralph, you had alluded earlier about trim levels. So let's talk about that.
I think before you go on, Joel, Ralph,
yes.
Are you still good on time? Because I know we're getting close.
Yeah, I'm still good.
Sure. Okay, we're good.
10 minutes.
All right, let him roll then. Let him cook, Joel. Go ahead.
Oh, you want to talk about the trim levels now?
Trim levels,
yeah. I started with the LE, and normally that's a bad thing to do because you have the best one, right? And then you play it, and then you go and play the other ones, and depending on what interests you the most. I think if you're someone that's like, oh my gosh, I want to have the best mech and the best, then you don't consider the game complete without the art blades and all the other things, then I think you just naturally want to buy that one. But what I found is, even though the Dragon did all the cool like additional movement, and it's definitely way more animatronic than it is on the Pro. Obviously, it's the same between the Premium and the LE. I played the Pro the most because I think people must have started. I don't know if there was I don't know what happened, but the room sort of shifted and like no one was on the Pro. So I went over and just started playing the Pro, and I was surprised because no one was behind me. No one. So I just was like, all right, I'll just keep playing. I kept saying, like, does anybody want to come play? And everyone was all enamored with the Premium and LE. But I didn't miss the additional stuff. And I know that I do think my opinion on those types of things has changed as I've gotten more into like really the aspects of how the game plays is more important to me, I think, than like all of the mechanisms and that stuff now. So I didn't miss it. So I was thinking to myself, if I was to buy this, I wasn't missing in the dungeon part, the dungeon crawl like thing popping up and me having to shoot a ball into it for it to go down and then come back up and just give it back to me. It just didn't seem like, that doesn't seem like enough of an advanced feature for me to go, oh my gosh, I need to have that. So if you can get away from the idea that maybe the Dragon isn't as feature rich and it's not shooting the balls at you and stuff, I was pretty happy with the Pro. And normally, I don't know, I have this theory that because Stern is getting a lot of like feedback that prices, and I know some of it is just certain content creators just focus so heavily on price, but I think and maybe I'm wrong, but my feeling is that they're intentionally trying to make the Pros more feature rich so that that when someone does have that entry level product, they don't feel like they're missing out on so much. And maybe that's wrong, but it just feels that way to me, that's what they're doing.
You're 100% correct. And George Gomez was in the room, and he actually made a comment about that. He said, we had a really hard time figuring out how to make a Pro. And what they meant was like, we knew we couldn't get rid of the Dragon. We knew we couldn't get rid of the Cube. He said, so we were like, how do we simplify the Dragon? And we were happy with, getting him only go up and down. But then they're like, we knew we had to take something else out. And they talked about taking the shield out for a long time, but they felt that the shield gave such a really unique, interactive mech for the player. I'm glad
they kept the shield because the shield's cool.
They took out the dungeon scoop instead. And when I hear that, I'm like, man, that game, if they would have taken out the magnet and the gelatinous cube or the shield, yes, I think they would have been pushing a lot more people to the Premium. But I think the Pro is loaded on this game. If you just look at the two games side by side, you genuinely can't tell the difference. And yeah, I think I would assume the Pro will sell very well and be a hit on location.
And then if you're into all the like making it look like the other ones, now everyone's really into the expression light kit, so you can do that for the back box lights. There are no internal expression lights, so you don't have to worry about that, and they'll have the art blades. I mean, you can make it. The expression lights in the back box when integrated is really cool and adds a cool element to it. But the fact that you can buy it now aftermarket, like you can have that same experience on a Pro, and just as long as you're okay making the concessions on the Dragon, maybe not being as feature rich, and then the dungeon crawl scoop, then I don't know. I think it's a very viable Pro to me, and I think that seems to be the theme that Stern's following lately.
I 100% agree. I am looking at the time. I know Ralph has to jump off. Was there any final comments you had, Ralph, on thoughts or anything
this
like
is
that?
How deep the game is. I literally made pages of notes on the game because I didn't know where we were going to go with it. There's so much to it. When I got back, I wrote a bunch of notes because there's so much. I broke it down into like, all right, I want to be honest with this. I wrote notes and I gave them to ChatGPT and said, summarize this into categories. And it did a good job. Core gameplay, key shots, interactive toys. But there's a lot to this game and it's in early code. So I'm just excited about it. And I didn't think I would be, because D&D as a theme did not really interest me. And it's pretty cool when someone can come up with something unique enough and deep enough that someone that's not even a fan of that particular IP wants to buy it.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
For sure.
So
just to clarify, are you buying one? Is there one in order?
No.
Have you pulled the trigger?
I never did tell you what game I was going to get rid of, but it would go too deep because then I'd have to compare like John Wick to X-Men and then it'd get weird. But and because I know everyone's got like really strong opinions on John Wick, but I do think I'm going to get it. I really do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
I
Well-
might have sent messages saying, please hold one for me, but I can't
There-
confirm nor deny that.
Perfect. Well, Ralph, we really appreciate you being on here today.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Great seeing you in person again. And if you want to go ahead and plug away, anything you got to plug it up.
Yeah, if you guys want to hear my, I had Ian from Nudge Magazine came over to, we went into the hotel and tried to record a podcast and got kicked out by security. So then we did it on the world's smallest couch in my hotel room, but
Nice.
I felt like it went pretty well. So you can see that on my podcast channel is Retro Ralph Live, and the podcast is The Flip Side, but it is also on Spotify. So if you do the Flip Side podcast and then Retro Ralph, you can find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And then my core YouTube channel is just Retro Ralph, where I do like more longer form content. So it's like very highly produced versus the podcast, which is more like turn on the microphone and hear my thoughts kind of thing.
It's great stuff.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Well, thanks again for hopping on. And we'll hopefully we'll see you again at the next media event.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's hope that wasn't an awkward transition as we had to stop an episode and restart an episode. Good news is, Travis, you now once again have the third best beard in Triple Drain in this podcast.
We should do the intro again because of that. Yes.
Because yes. Okay, where were we? So D&D. Let's just go just so it's not a gush fest. Honestly, we all enjoyed the game. The game was better. I will say honestly, the game was better than I was expecting. Not that I had low expectations. I just didn't know what I was walking into. I
so
do
you had
think
no
the game,
expectations. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
But
fair.
I don't mean that in a bad way. But anyways,
you cleared your mind.
I honestly wasn't sure what to think because I'm not a big Dungeons and Dragons fan. I appreciate the role playing and all that stuff, but it's just not something I do.
Well,
but the theme is definitely a good theme for pinball.
my thing was coming into it, I was thinking, I don't think the Stern video did a great job showing how it's shot. And the issue was,
I agree with that.
Dwight and Brian wanted to explain so much. There's so much going on in the game. So they kept telling Nick Wayna to trap up. And so it'd be like, he'd hit a shot and then wait for them to explain what to do
so
next.
You're talking about the gameplay, right? Not the reveal trailer, but the gameplay. Okay, I'm with
any
you.
of it, all the product that they had put out, none of it really showed like, does this game have any flow? Do the shots combo well? Do they this? Do they that? So my first big surprise, with my first game was like, this game actually shoots pretty well. Like, I'm happy with the way this shoots. There are some fun shots here. I'm enjoying these upper flipper shots. The game is pretty fast. That orbit, that ball's flying around. So that was something that was a surprise because I don't feel like the media that was produced showed that well. But the other side of it was, being that I do like D&D, I know how complicated D&D can get. Like, I know it. And part of me knows it from trying to explain it to Travis, like trying to, like, this is probably what you should expect. This is what you can do. He's asking like, well, what's the difference between dexterity and constitution and wisdom and knowledge and all this stuff? And
I wasn't taught what Constitution was in that form, Joel. In Oklahoma, Constitution means something different than Indiana, apparently, or D&D. So, yeah.
This is a side comment, but I saw it online, and I think it's great. This is the quote. So it's knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. I don't know. I just thought that was a great quote overall. But anyways, so I was very curious about that. I know Dwight can get real deep and nerdy, and it was kind of a, how deep and nerdy are they going to let him go? Because I do feel like that game could get super overwhelming really quick, or like very, there was people saying, well, maybe you'll hit a shot and then you'll roll a die and you'll see this, and maybe you'll do this. And I'm like, I don't want a ton of decision making. I don't want a ton of stop and flow, stop and go. One of the quotes that Dwight said was, there were a lot of decisions they had to make of, are we pulling pinball into D&D, or are we pulling D&D into pinball? which one weighs out? Should this be more D&D or more pinball? And they said they always chose pinball. They won at the end of the day. This is a pinball machine. And I think a perfect example of that is the dungeon crawl section, which is kind of a video mode, but it 100% could have been a full video mode. But they're like, no, this needs to still be a pinball game. So you get into the dungeon, you hit a number of shots, then you pick left, right, and then you're either in a room or you're moving more. But every time you make a decision, you have to hit another pinball shot. I'm okay with that. I know you guys have some differing opinions on that. But dungeon crawl, what's your overall thoughts on dungeon crawl?
Yeah, I just thought like hit the shot and then like use your flipper buttons to move around and then like be done with it.
Okay.
To be honest, those were my thoughts. I could see somebody maybe like struggling to hit the shots like over and over again.
Okay.
Or like, you know, you get to a point and that's like, I just want to battle. So like, let's get to wherever we're going in this dungeon. Okay. I got some monsters. Now let's go, you know, like, but I don't want to keep hitting shot over shot at the same thing over and over again to try to do that. I guess that was my opinion on it.
Sure.
So like, I think like a little bit of video mode is okay. Like, you know, but
Sure. I am curious that as of right now, so this is what's unique with the dungeon crawl is this is the thing that's going to reset every Sunday. And what's weird is online people are like, well, how do you do this if your game's not connected to the internet? Like it's built into the game itself. The seed, there's a random seed that changes every single Sunday. So this would still happen even if you weren't connected to the internet. It's built into the game. But the thing about the dungeon crawl, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it really has anything to do with the story. If you're going to do the dungeon crawl, it's just to get stronger. So by fighting guys or to find the treasure room, and the treasure room's supposed to have more loot. And the loot is how you're going to increase your shield or your attack or your range weapon. I think that's
how you find some of the trinkets, right?
Yeah, but I don't.
It's like a side quest. Think of it like a giant 100%. Side quest.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the side quest is necessarily needed. Like, I don't know if you have to do the side quest. Maybe you do. I don't know how much it's needed. But as of right now, once you get into the dungeon crawl.
The rules want you to do it, though. The way the game is structured, it wants you to get into the dungeon crawl.
Okay. But
because keep in mind, it's the two targets, right?
Yep. The two stand-ups
that's what lights it. Or if you hit the center vuck, that spots it. And that's like one of the easiest shots in the entire game. So because one of the easiest shots spots it, that tells me right there from, you know, a story-based purpose or a progression purpose of the game, they really want us to experience the dungeon crawl.
So when you're in it, though, I know you're in a hallway and it's like, hit a few shots. Do you want to go left, right, whatever? Well, if you pick a room, it's either going to be a treasure room. So great, you got something. Or it may be a battle. So now you have to fight something. I don't know yet. To get out of it, though, I think you have to find a stairway. So it's like, I don't want...
No, you could hit a trap, too.
And
like if you randomly hit a trap, I think it automatically ejects you out if you get a trap.
I think he said there was 3 ways to get out.
Yeah, because I remember hitting a trap and then I was done.
As long as you're not going to get locked in it. That's the one thing that, you're
it's
stuck.
A dungeon.
True. But what I'm curious of is, will people be avoiding it? As in, you can only do it when you're not in a mode. So if it's one of those like, oh, I got dungeon crawl lit at the VUC, but I don't want to do it. I'm going to hit the shots around it and try to travel or do a mode or something like. That's where I'm curious is how important it is to actually play the dungeon.
Do you want
crawl.
me just to say the quiet thing out loud? What all three of us are thinking?
Why
that
not?
We just felt like maybe it just felt too slow at that point, right? Like that's the way I felt when I got into the dungeon. All of a sudden, I realized I have to hit a shot just to move forward, and then I have to hit another shot to move forward again, then another shot to move forward, or another shot to make a decision to move somewhere with the action button or the flippers or whatever, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's kind of like if I'm thinking of this, how to keep somebody engaged that's playing it, it's as soon as I'm in the dungeon, I want action nearly immediately. So if I got to hit one more shot to move, that's fine. But then something needs to happen besides just walking more to move again, right? Like there needs to be hopefully I assume they can do that since the dungeons are going to change like whatever's in it and where it's at. But to be fair about all this, I also don't do any dungeon crawls at all on any other games or anything. So I don't know if from a narrative basis that makes sense or whatever. I just think that maybe the action needs to be pushed a little bit more when you're in there. Because just like you mentioned, Joel, you don't want the feeling of being stuck somewhere.
It definitely makes sense.
Right.
Like for D&D is absolutely, hey, the rumor is for us to beat this big bad, we need this armor. Well, this armor's in this town, and then you go to the town and you do this, and they're like, well, that's rumored to be in this dungeon. So now I'm in a dungeon, which is a maze, and we're exploring, we're battling, we're surviving. Big bad, boom, we got it. On to the next one. It thematically absolutely makes sense. What I think you're pointing out, though, and I agree with, is personally the modes are more fun than the dungeon crawl. Like if I know I have 12 modes, I want to be spending my time playing my 12 modes and my dungeons that are attached to the modes, because each phase of the dungeon is different. That's where I want to be playing. So the dungeon crawl itself is it's one of those side quests or those side modes that I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll play it because I'm here, but I'm ready to be out because I want to go play this. Yeah. This is more fun. So
you just got to front load the action. That's all it is. Front load the action. That way, maybe if you get through like battling something or getting your first trinket, then you can make a decision on where you're going from there, right? Instead of like the decision just being taken from you and it's just hitting a shot just to move your character forward, right?
Or maybe
that's asking a lot of a player to come up and hit 4 shots too before something happens. It really is in all reality. So,
maybe we just haven't been sold yet on the value of doing the dungeon crawl. Like it's worth, maybe if there was that urge of like, no, I need to keep exploring because I might actually get to whatever. I may get this loot. I may get this.
That goes into the pin save though too, right? Okay. Like if you have the pin save, you could play more. And I get it. Like there should be value in doing something, but I think in the case of pinball, you always want something to be exciting for somebody. You never want something to feel like it's wood chopping, especially if you're doing a narrative progressional system. Yeah. So it's almost like I've explained this to other people before. I talked about earlier in this podcast. When you think of it from like a marketing standpoint, it's all about hooks, right? Yeah. How am I going to hook you? So if you go immediately into the dungeon, what's the immediate hook when you're in that dungeon? It's like, okay, I need to go find something, but you're going to have players have a different reason for being in the dungeon. Like me, I just want to cause chaos when I'm in the dungeon. I want to find the monsters and battle them, Yeah. And then after I battle them, then I want the trinket. I don't want to like look and avoid them and then find the trinket. But I know some players, they may think that way. They may not want to battle somebody. They may want to find the trinket.
I just want to find the trinket.
Yeah. So somebody like Tom may want to find the trinket.
I don't want any danger.
He's a pacifist. Tom's a pacifist.
But you know what I mean? It's like that's where the action's at. So, I don't know. I just think maybe if they brought the action up a little bit closer to the beginning of it, that then it would make sense to feel like, okay, maybe a higher level, then you have kind of the wood chopping tendencies of a dungeon crawler. Like maybe that's how it works because it just gets more difficult, right? The more levels you go and maybe the more decisions you make, maybe the more difficult the enemies get. But, it's still early though. That's just the first thoughts. When we initially played it, I think everybody kind of felt that way. That I was talking to various people. Like I didn't really hear anybody saying, I want to hurry up and get into a dungeon crawl over the modes. I think a lot of people were pleasantly surprised over the modes.
Absolutely. I mean, my goal when I was playing was I want to play the mode. I want to beat the mode so I can experience the dungeon in that town. Like that's where the fun was. And that's what I kept doing.
And dungeon crawl is different too.
They're different,
right, Joel?
Yep.
We had to establish that. Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think I ever did Gelatinous Cube Multi-Ball because I was so focused on modes. I just wanted to keep exploring these modes and the uniqueness and the rules of the modes. But Tom, why do you hate this game and why haven't you bought one yet?
I don't hate it. But I haven't bought one yet. I've been debating about it though. I mean, definitely going to Stern and checking it out definitely is pushing me more towards getting one. Mm-hmm. And especially the replay value of it is definitely doing that. I don't know.
Well, I know typically what you've said before is you like buying because you bought a Bond Pro, you had bought a Wick Pro, you bought an X-Men Pro. Like the idea is it's nice having the game in your house,
Right.
so that you can explore it, you can learn it, and you can be better prepared for tournaments. Are the tournament wheels already turning? Like how?
Oh
or you
yeah,
haven't even thought that
for
yet?
sure. Like I'm already thinking like, so I know I talked about this with Travis. The biggest thing like in tournaments is that left shot setting up your right flipper with the magnet. So like to me, it was like going back to T-ball and like, the coach is putting the ball up on the tee and saying, okay, Tom, hit that ball into play. And it's like, all right. And you just hit it like right up that ramp like it was nothing.
Yep.
And then you go to the major leagues and you're like, oh shit, this
Where's my
guy's throwing
tee?
a 90 mile per hour fastball at me. So but I do think like if I was going to be a TD and have this in a high level tournament, there's a scoop at that shot that shoots the ball up. I would probably, hopefully in the code, try to weaken it. So like that it could not go up to that flipper and make people actually hit the shots to go up
we
to
didn't
that
even,
upper flipper.
So the far left shot, the far left kind of lower shot, Medieval Madness, it would be the catapult shot. That shot, which Fizmo's like store.
It's the easiest
Correct.
side shot in the history
It's
of pinball.
super easy to hit.
It's really easy to hit.
It's the easiest side shot in the history of pinball.
But
It's
then
like
it feeds.
the easiest bailout shot.
So
ever.
like I could
It
see
feeds the upper
like
flipper,
the extremely high level players like Escher and ZMAC and Jason Zoller and yada yada yada, just destroying that and just right flipper hit that, boom, up to the upper flipper. So
it will be absolutely hilarious at Expo this year. It will be hilarious. Like we're talking, this will be a 2-hour game at Expo.
At least for those guys,
Yes,
Unless,
no doubt.
You're saying unless it's tweaked, because honestly, to feed the
They
upper
won't
flipper,
tweak it at Expo. That's what's going to be hilarious. That shield's going to be there.
You don't know that.
Oh, they won't. I don't think they will.
And I don't know, maybe
not till finals,
there's something Dwight's planning in the code. For tournament players, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know those things, but
the other thing, what I was going to say is that upper flipper, you can feed it by hitting that shot, which spits the ball directly up to that. You can hit the left orbit, which will feed it fast.
And that
but
shot's
sometimes
tough.
That's fast.
That
the left
shot's
orbit
tough.
is stuff.
Yeah, because the gelatinous cube blocks your view.
Yeah.
And so if the magnet doesn't catch it, you're like...
It's fast.
Yeah, you're not going to find that shot. It's like maybe... I mean, I can't even give a percentage. I just know it's probably the most difficult shot in the game by far, the most difficult combo.
So
right?
left orbit to upper flipper.
It kind of reminds me of Avatar in that way, right? Where the ball
super,
just shows
it's
up.
super fast when there's no magnet.
It is,
Yeah.
And there's also a little horseshoe shot up there, upper right, where you can drop the ball on the flipper and shoot it. So there's multiple ways to feed that flipper.
The magnet also grabs that there too.
Yeah, the magnet still slows it down.
Magnet's used a lot.
Which is fine. I think
right. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a bad thing maybe for high level competition.
Yeah, I don't think that this game is meant for tournaments or high level tournaments. I think it's meant for launch parties and local stuff and strikes, and that's totally cool. And I hope that the direction they take this pin isn't worried about too much about all that stuff, right? Because there's plenty of pins out there, and I think having something that's a little bit different, that's more story based, is perfectly fine. So that's what I would like to see.
I agree. And the only other shot which we haven't mentioned yet, which I'm a little concerned about, is the captive ball. The captive ball is considered the critical hit ball. And
you don't have to be concerned. I know what you're going to say.
But as of right now, in the code, it will give you any shot. It'll give you a valuable shot. So if there's one bad guy out there and he's on the left orbit and you can't hit it for whatever reason, you can just hit the captive ball and it'll spot it. And it's constant. It's a constant.
Right. So all you got to do is make it not constant. And
that's what I'm saying. Is I feel like it's
No,
it's fine.
I was just going to say. Remember, they told us they did tell us that this was like the CES code.
True.
And it was at 0.78. So
They
you
have to
know,
change it. Yes.
they
'Cause
did
Dwight-
say the game was a lot easier.
So
well,
think of
it
it.
was either
I-
Dwight
is
or Elizabeth
what I remember
said,
Dwight saying.
Right, right.
Theoretically, you could beat an entire mode by just bashing the captive ball.
Right,
And there's
but-
no way that they can't have that be.
But I
Well,
know
you
what
can,
Travis
though.
is saying.
You can, though, because think
Okay.
about it. If it's really that exploitable, why did nobody else figure that out during media day, during the dealer day? Nobody else figured that out. You know, and that a large portion of that is because people don't generally look for that. They just don't. That
Okay.
I mean, I know we are because we're aware of it. And
Mm-hmm.
we think of, okay, how can I finish this? Like we're thinking in terms of a min-max point of view, right? How can I do this as efficiently as possible, right? So in a tournament, of course, you know, send it to comp mode, boom, just one hit, that's it. Or you have to do something to qualify it. For something that's in default, I don't think people are going to notice it or even really care all that much because otherwise somebody would have picked up on that, right? Because there's nothing out there that tells you that's the way it's going to work. It's not on the artwork. It's not on anything.
Well, the insert right now, even the insert isn't. There's an insert in front of it, and it's not lit all the time. But I tested it. Like even if the insert's off, you can still hit it, and it spots a shot.
Right.
So I assume in the code, in my opinion, it would be a spot a shot once per mode, or there's a cool off period to it. Like you can spot a shot, but then you have to hit 5 other shots before it's lit again.
And think
They
of it
could
this
do
way
plenty.
too. It's like what shot would you really want to spot while you do that? Like a side loop, a side ramp.
Yeah.
You know, it's I just think it's not going to be that big of a deal overall because otherwise other people would have caught up onto it. So there's just I mean there's some silly nuances in it. Like let's face facts. Like that is one of them. I think you know, for people that see it or can't unsee it. I mean, if you're playing the premium or LE, you're essentially lifting up a scoop to be in front of a scoop, right?
Yep.
It's like scoopception is what you're having. You're going to hit the VUC in the very back in order to raise up a scoop in front of it. So, you know, that's certainly a choice to kind of turn a stern into a P3 nearly, right? With that scoop coming up. But but I mean, Ralph even mentioned though, he was like, he didn't feel like that added enough onto the game for him, which I get. That's probably like out of the 3 main mechs in the game, that's probably the most forgettable part, right? The gelatinous cube, pretty cool with the way the magnet is. You know, obviously the dragon moves around, and that just kind of makes the little dungeon that pops up. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I think it'll be an afterthought for a lot of people. But that just goes to show you that's why the Pro will be good value for people that 100%. See that as well, because they're not going to, you're still shooting the same exact shot, right? You're still getting basically the same exact thing out of it, except people may enjoy hitting the spinner more than just a scoop that pops up because you still have that spinner in the back, you know? So
and it's opto spinner. I agree.
It is.
If they would have made the dragon head almost like the T-Rex head in Jurassic Park, where it was just the sculpt, no movement, no interaction, but the fact that they allowed it to still be up and down, like they really, in my opinion, as a buyer of pinball, I love that they're I think X-Men Pro is loaded. I'm glad that this looks loaded. I'm all for them having pros that are awesome. As a distributor, maybe it makes it harder to sell the premiums and LEs, but it's just I love it in a way because you compare it to Brian Eddy's last game. In my opinion, Venom Pro should have never been made. Like that game, they stripped out everything about that game. Like, there was no change. It was all just software. So that should have just been a premium LE game or something. I don't know. They could have done something. I don't know. But I feel like this is the exact opposite where the pros are awesome.
And it's okay if the pros sell well. I mean, I'll be upfront. Like I think we're pretty much sold out of our LE. So it's not like I'm shilling this. Like the LE looks good in person. People thoroughly enjoy it. And it's selling very well. But I think too, like Stern, by putting the mechs the way that they did, there's going to be lots of people that will play this Pro on location and be like, oh yeah, this is a fun experience too. And really the only thing, like the 2 things that you will be missing, I don't think people will really notice the difference between 6-ball or 8-ball. It's just so many balls going around.
Chaos,
right. Eventually, like, you know, we reached our ball threshold of like noticing anything else. Right. But I think with people noticing the dragon head moving and blocking some shots, like the loop, right, and the ramp, that for me, that didn't really feel like an experience as much as like a kind of like an annoyance, because I had to look around it to see if that shot was lit. And this is when the ball was staged on the magnet. Now, I don't know if that's a software thing or if that's the way it's always going to be, but I could see some people, not liking that. Now, what I did like about the Dragon is that, of course, it moved up and down, but I didn't mind it blocking the right orbit shot. I thought that was pretty cool that you could hit the right orbit, still hit the Dragon. So I think a lot of people like that. But again, when you look at it, the Pro could be pretty good value because the cube's the same. The Dragon still articulates up and down. You can still bash it. You can still hit it. And you still shoot it up the middle into a VUC anyways, into a spinner. And I think that's like, if that shot didn't have the spinner to it, then there would be a lot of people like, what is going on? But having the spinner in front of it, I think that adds to that shot a little bit. So I think looking at the way the end consumer would look at this, I think they'd be fine with it.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it as a consumer that the Pros are loaded like this. And but unfortunately I'm out of time now. I need to go.
We did it, Tom. We went so long that Joel has to go.
No, I'm getting messages from my wife that's saying,
she's got
something she has to do within 30 minutes.
Hey,
so I'm like,
sure,
all right,
cut your nuts off.
Oh, well. All right. Okay. Let's plug it up. Plug away, Tom.
All right. When you're not finding me here on Triple Drain, you can find me on my other stuff, which is Fox Cities Pinball, which we do a lot of tournament stuff and more tournament stuff.
And you do it very well. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Travis, plug away, man.
Yeah, you can find me right here on Triple Drain Pinball Podcast. You could also find me over on my other job, which pays a little bit more than Triple Drain, thankfully, because Joel takes all of our money, just like we talked about earlier. It's not true. It's not true. Yeah. We took it to Vegas. We bet on black. It's fine.
That's what
but yeah, I'm also with the Pinball Company. You can find me on YouTube. I do like tutorials, talk about pinball and all that. I don't care if you buy from us or what. I just enjoy making content, bringing value to the community, and making pinball seem a little less complex and a little more fun. So awesome. That's my spiel. On to you, Joel, and your cool beard.
Yeah, and I'm Joel. I do the Flipping Out Pinball stream on YouTube every Wednesday night with my brother, as well as this podcast. Feel free to check out our stuff. We have some random stuff on, what is it, Zazzle? Zazzle. Our main merch is on Zazzle. Our main merch is on Silverball Swag. Check that out. Twippies are coming up. If you want to give us a vote, go for it. You can vote for Fox Cities, Pinball Company, Flipping Out, all the stuff, Triple Drain. Travis loves votes. He loves them so much.
Don't bother voting for anything I'm on, except for this. That's fine. Yeah. Like I other than that, I don't care.
That's fair. And thanks for all the people on Patreon that support us. That's fantastic.
And we'll answer everybody's questions on the next one because we totally ran out of time.
I know.
So we do have your questions. Yeah.
It's all Joel's fault.
And
just remember that.
It always is. Yes. So with that, Tom, you have the last words.
Have a good one.